How's it going, everybody? Seth here, and I've got Tyson with me. Hey, man, are we racing this weekend?
No.
So, we've got an off weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, quite a few of them. And we wanted to just go ahead and share with you guys kind of what equipment we're using here over the next few videos until we do have another event. And you mentioned in the last video how your hand was really sore
Yeah.
after using what?
One of their controllers.
Yeah, so the controller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because how exactly do you control a slot car?
Basically like this. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
at least I do it like this.
do you want to show them what the controller actually looks like?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that'll
right.
definitely be fun.
So it's gonna be we keep it up here stored away. It's got a little bit of padding in here, so whenever we transport it, it doesn't get broken because this is
Worth a lot of cheddar.
just a
Yeah.
little bit. Specialty controllers are not inexpensive at all. You can start off with just a regular controller, but this one here has a bunch of options to make it more adjustable to the driver. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you guys can so anybody that's using it can really fine tune the track, the car, your driving style, different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is by Third Eye Technology. This is a Hitman FET, is what it is. Got a nice, awesome heat sink right here. And this part of the controller, what does this do?
Alright, so what these do, they transfer the signals from the controller over to the track to tell your car when to stop, when to go.
Yep. So these cars are they don't have their own power source. So they have to get the power from the track. There's braids on the groove. Here, let me go and show you guys what that kind of looks like. I don't have a good example of it, but I do have this right here. So imagine this right here is the groove that's in the track. This is called a guide, and it has braids on each side. That guide is going to go down inside this groove like this. And imagine that there's the same type of braid like this on each side of this groove. It's got its own power source, the track does, and whenever you pull the trigger on the controller, it completes the circuit and it makes your car go forward or backwards if it's wired backwards, right?
Yeah.
So this controller right here, whenever you pull the trigger, that's what completes the circuit. Now, is it a on-off or does it depend on how far you pull the trigger?
I think it depends on how far you pull the trigger.
That's exactly correct. So if you just barely pull the trigger, your car's just barely going to move. But if you pull it all the way, some cars could pop a wheelie. So you have to be really gentle whenever you pull the trigger. And now that is where these dials up on top come in,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
one of these right here is your sensitivity. Now your sensitivity controls how sensitive the trigger action is. So you can pull it the same every single time, but if you have these different settings from 0 all the way to 10, what it'll do is it'll slow down or increase that response from the trigger to the track. And that's why a lot of guys really like this because some guys, their reaction time is kind of slowed down, or they don't, or they haven't been involved in the sport very long to really hone that skill. So by using one of these right here, it really helps the driver be able to overcome some of those. I won't say lack of skill, just not the building of the skill yet. And then also you have a brake control right here.
Yeah.
So what does the brake right here do?
It controls like the time that it takes between the signal of the brake to the track.
Yeah, it's basically not the strength of your brakes, just how quickly they engage. So your brake strength is in the motor, and we'll go into that in another video later. But this one right here, you can also adjust it from 0 all the way up to 10, and that allows you, like if you've got a lot of really sharp corners and you need to get on the brake a lot faster, and you're realizing that you're not able to do it with just releasing the trigger, you can increase your brake here. That way it gives you a little bit more of a buffer and it lets you kind of dive in a little bit more and just it's tuning it. You know what I mean? There's also these little switches right here.
Yeah.
And that's the linear, how steep the curve is on these inputs. It's really complicated when you really, really get into it, but it basically, instead of a straight line like this,
Yeah.
it turns it into like a curve.
Oh.
And depending on how many of these and which ones you have these up, it's going to be either a more like this curve, like a bow out, or a really sharp bow up. And I don't know the exact specifics of it. I'm not doing a review specifically on this right now. Just kind of want to give you guys a general overview. If you guys are interested in that, I recommend checking out other videos on YouTube. I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff out here about these. Now, this one here, like I said, this is a specialized controller. You can get a normal one that does not have the butt or the knobs on it, and it's just going to be you pull the trigger and it's the same action every single time. You don't have any adjustability into it. So you have used this controller for one race and also for some testing.
Yeah.
You also used just a regular controller. What did you notice any difference?
Yes. So basically, on your controller, whenever I tapped it, it went. Psh, the car just went. Zip.
So it's got a lot better response time also.
Really
Right.
sensitive.
Yeah, super sensitive. So what kind of controller do you recommend?
For like beginners.
Yeah, for beginners, somebody like you, do you think a normal controller is pretty good just to kind of get started until you kind of make sure that you can
Yeah.
stay in the groove and then you kind of start exploring with these other controllers?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to tell anybody about the controller?
No, not really.
No?
I
So
think-
that's going to be it for today?
Yeah, I think that covers it all.
All right, everybody. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, night, evening, wherever you're racing.
And don't forget, keep it in the groove.